Thank you. The title of my presentation is The United States and China, Natural Allies for the Justice, Peace, and Prosperity of the World. I would like to thank previous speakers, especially Mike, who make my job much easier. I think this is an advantage of being a late speaker. You don't have to really worry about you might really go beyond your allowed time. The world is entering a critical, transitional, and defining moment as the 2007 to 2009 financial crisis has painfully demonstrated. The political and economic systems which have been dominated by financial oligarchs over the last several hundred years have failed all peoples around the world and need to be changed. Therefore, I am pleased and honored to be invited to this important conference, the Second American Revolution and the New Paradigm for Mankind, sponsored by the EIR and the Schiller Institute. And time and again, Schiller's dramas demonstrate how a person's duty lies above his or her own personal inclinations, how he and she must be both a patriot and a world citizen. For the true interest of any one nation can never be at odds with the interests of the whole world. It is in this spirit that his teaching is so relevant to our attempt to establish a new paradigm. Any rational person would agree that to overcome the ongoing financial and economic crisis requires constructive partnerships among countries and the people in this global village. However, the world has become even more unstable after the financial crisis. Political upheavals have spread to every continent, from Africa to America. Why? It's because of increasing polarization of wealth distribution among countries and among citizens in individual countries. Tensions even flared in East Asia, a relatively calm region before 2008. Part of the reason is the highly vocal announcement of rebalancing of the U.S. military forces, 6% of which will be deployed in Asia. As an American originally from the region, I totally agree that Asia is of great importance to the future well-being of this country. However, is destabilizing the region really serving the interest of this country, serving the interest of Asian countries, and serving the interest of the whole world? Of course, the answer to most rational people is a resounding no. So, why did our policymakers do this? As pointed out by Lynn, Helga, and many scholars here, the source of this trouble is the financial oligarchs who have betrayed the U.S. Constitution and have gradually taken control of the U.S. politics since 1913, when the Federal Reserve was established. In this speech, I will mainly focus on why the U.S. and China are natural allies, and how can we strengthen this strategic relationship. The U.S.-China relation is unprecedented in the history of the nations. The United States is attempting to work with a rising power to foster its rise as an active contributor to global security, stability, and prosperity, while also sustaining and securing American leadership in a changing world. Two countries are together building a model in which both countries strike a stable and a mutually acceptable balance between cooperation and competition. And this is uncharted territory, and we have to get it right, otherwise we will face a great disaster. There are many differences between the two political and economic systems, two cultural and historical experiences. One of them is the U.S. trade deficit of $300 billion per year with China, which need to be addressed in a constructive manner, not in a really accusing each other's manner. Now, however, there are many converging interests between the U.S. and China. Let me name a few. Both countries need a peaceful and stable international environment. Both countries have become sorely, inescapably interdependent. Both countries, or at least most people in both countries, are committed to building a cooperative partnership based on mutual benefit and mutual respect. And both are looking for a win-win relationship instead of zero-sum game. Both countries are facing increasing polarization of wealth distribution in their respective societies. The citizens of this country need to take back our government from the hands of financial oligarchs, and Chinese needs to get rid of crony capitalism. There are also many similarities between the two countries. Their size is uncannily close, with both occupying almost exactly 6.5% of the world's land mass. And both are multinational states. And both are religiously tolerant countries. Contrary to many smear campaigns against China. Again, if you look at the Chinese history, the one thing stands out. There is, in its more than 4,000 years of history, there was no religious war. And even communist China, in the recent years, actually very tolerant against different religions, as long as the religious groups are not use religion as a cover to engage in subversion and certain or illegal activities. Most importantly, Chinese and Americans share the same deepest beliefs and desires in our heart and soul, as shown by the similarities between the teachings of American founding fathers and those teachings of ancient Chinese philosophers and the Chinese leader of modern times. It is in this sense that the U.S. and China are mutual allies. So therefore, I shall discuss these shared values in the remaining of my presentation. The founding principle of the U.S. is best expressed by the preamble to the United States. And the basic ideas are to promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. And our government, as envisioned by our founding fathers, is a government of the people, by the people, for the people, as eloquently expressed by Lincoln in his famous Gettysburg Address. And this idea has greatly influenced many Chinese leaders of modern times, such as Dr. Sun Yat-sen and late President Chiang Kai-shek, Mao Zedong, Zhou Enlai, Deng Xiaoping, and Jiang Zemin, etc. And Lini is an expert on this subject. Now, this people-first principle is also the deepest belief in Chinese heart and soul, as reflected in the teachings of ancient Chinese scholars. And may I have next slide, please? And the most important concept of Confucius and ancient Chinese philosophy can be expressed in several simple characters. As the slide shown here, one of the very important core concept is the character Ren, which was broadly translated as benevolence, but actually its meaning is much deeper and richer than benevolence. This character consists of two parts. The left part looks like a human, Ren, okay, people, person. The right part, I can all figure out, two, right? So that means two persons. It's basically dealing with how to define, how to relate from person to person. In other words, it's a proper ways to treat one another. Put in a more concrete term is to love, which means love. To love your friends, to love the people around you. And furthermore, Confucius taught us that this is ethic of reciprocity. So, 己所不欲，勿施于人 means one should not treat others in ways that one would not like to be treated. It's kind of a negative form of golden rule. And in the Western culture, most took the positive form of golden rule, which means do unto others as you would have others do unto you. This is slightly different, which has a profound effects on the thinkings of two cultures, of two people. Now, the next few important concepts, one is, next slide, please, is a very important one called Yi. Means you sacrifice yourself for the great good of the society, of the whole world. And this character consists of two parts. The first one is yang, is a sheep. Now, sheep was a sacrifice in ancient time. And the sacrifice for what? For the great good of your group. And the second character is wo, means me or I. In other words, you are willing to act as a sheep for the great part of the society. So this is a very important concept. The other one is a harmony called he. Harmony, in other words, you want to seek harmony in music, in whatever, in many things, and to try to avoid going extremes. And the other character is ping, means equality, equal opportunity. So if you combine two words, 和 and 平, the last two words, it's translated in English as a peace. In other words, peace, a lasting peace, can only be built upon on harmony and equality. So that's now the next slide. Okay, and this slide shows, unfortunately it's only, can we shrink the image? Oh, okay, fine, don't worry. Okay, I want to show you the beautiful calligraphy. Okay, this calligraphy is of a motto treasured by generations of Chinese classical scholars, and I'm going to explain the meaning of this motto. Next slide, please. Okay, this motto consists of 4 parts. Okay, in Mandarin, says 为天地立心，为生民立命，为往圣继绝学，为万世开太平. What does this mean? The first one is to ordain. Therefore, I take the liberty to make this translation. Okay. The first part, to ordain conscience for heaven and earth. But what the heck does this mean, right? Okay, according to Chinese philosophy, nature's rules is called, the way of nature is called Tao. Tao is, I know people probably have heard of that. And so this the first part of this thing is really, as a scholars, you need to harness the way of nature, okay? And in order to bring the benefit to all the people and the world. For example, you observe nature, the sun's motion around the world, the weather change, etc., etc. What purpose? You want to harness the ways of nature for the benefits of the people. The second one is to secure life and fortune for the people. That means it's a greater love, the I. The third one is to continue the finest teachings of ancient sages, Confucius, Mencius, and others. And for what purpose? It's last part. To establish peace for all future generations. So that is the most important motto for Chinese tradition scholars. In my view, this motto is very consistent with the teaching of our founding fathers, with the teachings of Schiller. And this is why I believe that both people share the deepest beliefs. Now, so next slide, please. So what can we do in a more practical sense? Next slide. Okay, wait a minute, that's another one. Oh, no, the one before. The one before. No, okay. Oh, fine. Okay, good. That's all right. No, so what can we do? We should take the idea as expressed by Lin and your group. We should promote cooperation instead of what? Confrontation. And we should build our cooperation based on science, technology, and development. And take the Far East Asia as an example. There are many tensions over there. Tension between Russia and Japan and China, between North Korea and South Korea, and etc., etc. However, if a rational people look at the needs of all the regions, there's no really fundamental conflicts. There are mutual needs and the needs for further development. And as mentioned early in the early speakers, we should expand the Nawapa to include and extend the Euro-Asian bridge to U.S., to American continent, And we need to develop the vast land of Siberia, Korea, China, etc. It's based on this development we can form a new bond, a new spirit. Another area is in the space explorations. Just several days ago, 3 astronauts who completed China's longest manned space mission returned to Earth safely, making another giant step forward towards the country's goal of building a permanent manned space station by the year of 2020. U.S. and Russia were one of the pioneer countries in space development. However, in recent years in U.S., this effort has become much more reduced. I think the future of the mankind, a lot of opportunities are in the space. And maybe our challenge, a threat, one day may come from the space also. And I think in this financially difficult period, we should pull our resources together to jointly engage in the space exploration program. And I think all those things will help. But the most important is to build a cooperative environment. Next slide, please. This slide is my last slide. Okay. And this slide shows the ideal world as envisioned by Confucius and by ancient Chinese philosophers. It's called Chinese dream. And the dream is what? To build a 世界大同. To build a world of great harmony and equality. And to build a world of 天下为公. In other words, the society belongs to everybody. That's consistent with general welfare as stated in the preamble to the United Nations. The Chinese dream, which is neither communist nor non-communist in character, but simply Chinese, represents the spirit of development and the progress, not just for China, but for the whole world. I hope this will also be the dream of all the people in the whole world. Thank you for your attention.